today's video, I'm going to be showing you this mercat design that is done with double dips acrylics. And they're also dipping powder, and I've used them both ways, but more so as acrylic, and they do actually work really well as acrylic. So if you do want to have one product that goes both ways, I found this one works better than most. So definitely give them a try. But this is their Queen of Hearts collection, which is just a really pretty collection for Mother's Day that's kind of pinky tones and a coral and some glitters. Most of them have a shimmery undertone, which I absolutely love. I hope you guys love this design. I'll put all the colors I used in the description box below, as well as my discount code. And if you'd like to use that discount code, I'd really appreciate it because I do earn a small commission. But otherwise, I hope you just love this design, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye!
Here are those first two colors I'm going to be showing you. The first one is Coral Reef, which is such a pretty, like kind of a shimmery, sort of peachy pinky color. The second one is called Frosted Tulip, and this one also has a very slight shimmer to it. I think most of them in this collection have either some kind of like a actual glitter chunk or just a little bit of a shimmer to them, which is all really pretty. So on the ring and the pinky, we're going to do an ombre of those two colors, Frosted Tulip and Coral Reef. And either way, it doesn't matter which color you want at the cuticle and which one you want at the tip, but start with the pink one with the Frosted Tulip and then do the Coral Reef. It'll just layer a little bit better. And then I'm going to brush a very thin layer of clear acrylic over that and press some clear mylar flakes into the surface. And this is going to kind of give us that opalescent look in the end. So just press those mylar flakes in. They don't have to be in any kind of pattern or order, just however they end up going on is fine. And then encapsulate this nail with a layer of clear acrylic. And when you're encapsulating over something like a mylar flake, you want your clear acrylic to be a little bit on the thin side so that it'll sort of wrap around the flakes and won't leave air bubbles. Once all of that is done, you can file this into shape and then apply a thin layer of a no-wipe gel top coat. Cure that, and then using some kind of a puffy gel, which there's a few different varieties that are out there on the market, you're going to do this little seashell pattern. So you want it to have like a thick glob at the free edge of the nail and then pull it up towards the cuticle and thin out that line. So you have this like thicker to thinner texture. And if your puffy gel is one that doesn't run at all, isn't self-leveling, then you don't have to worry about curing it after each of these sections. If yours does, then I would cure it or flash cure it after each line. But then after it is fully cured, you can burnish a blue to pink duochrome over the top of that pattern. And then we're going to apply some jewelry gel right at the place where all those lines meet. And then a very thin layer of gel top coat over the entire nail, working it into the grooves of that pattern that you just created. And press a few different crystals right along the top of the nail, like so. After that's done, you can go ahead and cure that one. And then for the pinky, we're going to do the same thing with the no-wipe top coat, but then without creating any sort of a textured pattern, we're going to burnish in the duochrome powder. And then with some white paint, this is acrylic paint. As you can see, I did stick some on my skin. Acrylic paint, you don't have to worry about the skin contact as you would with a gel paint or the liquid and powder nail acrylic. So it's okay if you get some on yourself like I do. In fact, I use my finger as a palette all the time when I'm using acrylic paint because it's just fine. It just washes off and there's no chemical breaching problems that you have to worry about. But we're going to do this little pattern of the little scales. And when you're doing a pattern of scales, you're going to create a series of C shapes or little loops that are, they interlock every other one. So when you do one row, then you do the next row, they go in every other spot so that there aren't just rows going straight down the nail, but they kind of variegate their placement. Once you have it done and you have the whole nail filled in with those little seashells, you can apply a layer of gel top coat over that nail, and that one is done. The next color is going to be the color Bright Chic, which is, when it's not next to a silver, it almost looks kind of silvery, but it's got this almost rose gold hue to it, or goldish hue to it. It's so pretty. And on the thumb, we're going to be applying that at the cuticle area and brushing it down. Again, apply your glitter before the color Coral Reef, because then some of that Coral Reef color will show through. That Coral Reef color does such beautiful ombres. I mean, look at that. It's stunning. So it's definitely a good one to use for that because it blends out effortlessly. And especially over like the glitter, it just looks so lovely. And then encapsulate this nail with a layer of clear acrylic to make sure that it is nice and strong. And whenever I do something like an ombre or a sculptured in thing, I'm not so much worried about the thickness and the strength as much as I'm worried about getting the color where I need the color. So then the clear acrylic is a good way to just go through and make sure that the strength is where you need it to be. So now with some white gel paint, and this time I'm actually using gel paint and not acrylic paint. So you're going to see me using things a little differently then. We're going to be doing our little mercat. So if anybody doesn't know, a mercat is a mermaid cat hybrid. So that's what we're going for here. We've got our little mercat's head and the body, and that's with white. And then with a pink gel polish, I'm going to be adding the mermaid tail. And this is a color that I have in my collection that is kind of similar to the frosted tulip color of acrylic, so that it matches and it all kind of goes in with the design. So we have that little mermaid tail. We're going to be adding the actual fins on the end of her tail. And then with a coral color gel polish that matches, at least closely matches, the coral reef acrylic, we're going to be adding some shading on the tail, just a little bit of shading on it. And then 2 little stars on our mercat's chest for where her seashell or sea star type top would be. So just 2 quick little stars. And then going back to my pink color, I'm going to be adding a little bit of pink in our cat's ears and then on the cheeks, and just sort of brush it in. And the style that I'm going for my mercat is kind of anime type of styling. So you'll see that more when I start painting in her eyes, but just that heavy pink cheek shading kind of goes in with that style too. So now with some black gel paint, we're going to be doing all of our outlines and details. And for those of you that are wondering why part of this design is done with gel paint and why part of it is done with acrylic paint, I personally prefer to work with acrylic paint. I think that the way that it smooths onto the nail is just easier to deal with, but a reason not to use it, especially for something where there's so much painting done like on this little mercat, is that the acrylic paint tends to chip, especially if there's a bigger amount of it, even off of acrylic or off of gel polish. Even if it's layered in there, it does just tend to kind of flake off eventually. So those little skinny lines of the scales would never show that chipping, and it would never probably do that because they're so thin. The lines are so thin and they're not as, you don't have to do multiple coats or anything, but on something like a bigger painted space like our little mercat, it's just a bigger risk. And so for me, it's worth dealing with a gel product like gel paint or gel polish for doing the art instead of using my preferred medium, which would be the acrylic paint, because I want there to be some better longevity. So for our mercat, we've got all of those outlines done, and then I'm going to go through and start filling in her eyes. And I'm so sorry my camera is deciding to focus on my painting hand, not my painted hand. So we've got some out of focus happenings here, but we've got our little eyes going, and give her some eyelashes. Make sure she looks super duper cute. The great thing again with using gel paint though is that if you do make a mistake and you don't like some element of what you've painted, you can always erase it. And to erase it, you can just take a clean brush and just swipe it away like I'm doing right now, which is something that I absolutely love about gel paint, is that you can kind of, make mistakes a little easier. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of coral in her eyes with that same color coral gel polish. And then after I've got that done and you've got the color that you want to, you can go back through with your white gel paint and clean up any lines that you need to and add some highlights in her eyes. Just any little lines that went kind of awry on her body. Especially for me, I wanted to clean up her paws a little bit. So I did that with my white gel paint. And then after you got that done, I'm going to give her some whiskers because a mercat must have whiskers. And then once you're all done with all the painting, finish the nail with a layer of gel top coat. And then this one is done. So now for our index nail, we're going to do a full overlay of the color Bright Chic over the nail. As you can see, this color is an absolute stunner. It's kind of a champagne-y gold. It's very reflective and it picks up light well. So it kind of changes color and perception depending on the lighting and what is around you. So after that, I'm going to encapsulate the nail with a layer of clear acrylic. Just for a frame of reference, I do have a very thin layer of clear acrylic over my natural nail before applying any of these colors. So my color acrylic gets sandwiched between clear. So there's a clear layer on my natural nail and then the layer of the color acrylic and then another layer of clear. So now we've got our larger scales to be painting a sort of a bigger pattern. So the reason I'm doing a bigger pattern on this is that I want that glitter to really show through. And then it just gives some little difference so that you don't have the same exact nail twice with just a different background color. And I actually like the look of the bigger scales better than the smaller scales just in general. And they're faster to paint. So if you're going back and forth, that's always an option. So now here we have some little charms. They're a rose gold color and they're a metal charm, which are kind of nice. And the one thing about these ones is that they have a curvature to them. So the things like the sea stars and the bigger elements fit very nicely on the nail and they don't have those little edges that catch so much like some of the other ones do that are made just flat. So that little curvature really is a nice touch to these ones. So I'm going to apply some jewelry gel right along the top of the nail and then apply a layer of no wipe top coat and then press a little array of those charms as well as some rhinestones. So for this one, I'm going to do a sea star charm and then a couple different kind of pinks and silvers and a white little crystal right along and around that little charm. And then once I'm happy with all of those, I'm going to go ahead and cure this nail. And then for the middle, I'm going to do another layer of that bright Chic, this time focusing it mostly over the tip of the nail, kind of fading it up a little bit. And then let that cure just until it turns matte, and then press a piece of, that was a piece of mesh into the nail to leave an imprint. Then brush the coral reef color over that imprint, and that's going to give you a very slight little pattern. So the mesh that I was using had a really fine hole in it. And so because of that, my pattern is very, very subtle. So you almost have like this coral glitter kind of fading in and out type of pattern instead of like a distinct, this is where the pattern is sort of look. And that's kind of the way I was going for it. I didn't want it to be super bold. I want it to just be very subtle. And then I'm going to fill in the upper area of the nail with a layer of Cover Pink just to kind of blend it in so it looks a little bit more natural. And then encapsulate the nail with a layer of clear acrylic to make sure it is nice and strong. And when you're doing this, whenever you're doing that clear encapsulation layer at the end of all of these designs, it doesn't have to be very thick. A thin layer of clear acrylic is really all you need to give the nail strength, especially if you have it like I do where the color acrylic is sandwiched between clear, and you don't really have to worry about it too much. Once that nail has been filed, then we can do a layer of jewelry gel, a layer of top coat, and then you guessed it, we're going to be adding some more embellishments to this nail. So for this one, I'm going to use the bigger sea star because there was 2 sizes in that kit, and then a little seashell. And I really like that big sea star that's got the open middle. I think that is gorgeous. I love that one. It's my favorite one out of the kit. And then press some more of those little crystals around that. This might be the most embellished my nails have ever been on my actual natural nails. It is crazy. I don't usually go this kind of crazy with the crystals, but I hope you guys love this design. I love the mercat type style. I think it's just so pretty, and all of this aquatic stuff makes me feel like it is summer. And here is a Melody Minutes.
No. I didn't know what you meant when you said she had 5 little bunnies. I figured they were just like in our backyard somewhere, or like
No.
You guys were on a walk and saw them or something.
She legitimately has 5 new little friends. What do you think of the baby bunnies, honey?
Dad, I want to went outside with Abba.
What are you doing?
I'm now a leaf blower.
You're using your leaf blower? What are you doing with it?
I'm doing bubbles.
Making big bubbles?
I'm in a new bubble parade.
Thank you all so much for watching. I'll put links to all the double dip stuff as well as my discount code in the description box below. So if you're interested in picking up that kit, now's the time, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!